It's fine.
Look, tonight is not the night.
Could be a lot of
But this is real life. This real life stuff go on this show. This we want to show you. It's not made up. This ain't real life TV. This is.
Now we can get started.
Yeah,
Look, we gonna wait.
What's up, Jeff?
He was like, he was in the room with a bunch of women. He was waiting for you to come, Jeff's like, I know my boy got.
Oh man, it was real estrogenic up in here, man.
I know, right? Balance it out.
Hey, I've been there.
And then tell me. I said, y'all cousins, the Whites. We got the White brothers in the building.
Ask him, man, who your daddy? Who your family?
Hey, white people taking over.
Right. For real.
White brothers.
This is how we are usually before we start the show. So even though we're recording now, you can see that the guests come on, everyone gets along. We're like a family unit here. So this is just really kind of how the show really goes for the most part. Even though we bring you the best information we can, we still get along with each other and joke around in the process.
Unity.
Yeah.
Unity.
I'm glad to see you, brother. I'm glad you're on the show.
Likewise, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for letting me know about y'all's operation here. I love the concept.
Absolutely, because you doing some wonderful things. So we gotta spread Joe knowledge and information out there too.
Jeff, did you work together? Do you see the promo, Jeff?
No.
It's in GroupMe.
I literally. Is this the show right now, or we just?
I'm taking my cue from my host, man. So whatever y'all want to do.
I have to make sure I don't say anything, that would incriminate me, because I have an image I have to uphold.
I mean, I'm just hoping Alethea's editing game is on point, you know what I mean? So she can just piece this thing together, sew it up,
She won't. She'll let it run.
She'll be out.
She can, but she won't.
I don't put a disclaimer out there. I made a point of saying, look at here, this what happened. I wrote.
That's why I say, are we recording? Let me not incriminate myself.
This is how we roll. That's why they come back.
So you want me to pick up where I left off, or we want to wait a little bit?
I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to do that, and then so Julie will come back since she asked a question. But what I wanted to say to you when you were speaking, and I'm freezing up, so if I click off again, you guys know the storm is still in my area. But some of the things that you was talking about, we did a show a few weeks back called "What Can a Brother Do to Me?" And some of the things that you are saying now is making me want to do that show again, because we had the panel of the men up there and they was really dropping some knowledge and some science down there. And I think it would be a good fit for that too. So look for that invite coming too, because what you're saying tonight was definitely something that we could have used in that show as well. And I think the brothers that joined there will enjoy embracing you and bringing you into that fold. What do you think, Chanel? When she unmutes, she gonna tell.
There you go.
I completely agree. And that night, Teryl, my husband joined in, Jeff, we had the whole crew and then some, and it was phenomenal. I went back and watched the episode, and when I tell you, it was powerful. So for you to bring your perspective and your insight with your organization, I think it's just gonna take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Yeah.
Give me a chance to build with my people, man. I always cherish that. So you guys just let me know.
Yeah, we definitely will, because that's what we like to, really bring those conversations to the plate for people. I'm gonna let you go ahead and get started. Julie may take a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you get started. Dion, you can go ahead and get started again. I'm sorry.
No problem. So yeah, Miss Julie had posed a good question to me. She said two of the portions that she had honed in on, I can't remember the other one, but the main one was unity. And she also talked about opportunity and resources, I believe. But she asked, from an overhead perspective, what does unity look like? Why is that important? And then on an individual level, as brothers and sisters, fellow entrepreneurs, just Black people passing each other in the street, how can we start to approach unity, and what's the potential impact of it? So, and I was saying that it's not a coincidence that the internal document we use, I was mentioning, it's called the blueprint to Black Progress, and that's available for download to anyone that subscribes to our website, ourblackprogress.org. And it's a document that's a living document meant to serve as a template to steer anyone that wants to make a difference, anyone that wants to even just sit with some of the problems facing Black people and understand it better so that they can speak to it within their social circles, especially if they're mixed, because we know sometimes we get those questions from outside of the community, and intrinsically we know a lot of the answers and we know what's what, but we don't have a lot of practice of just articulating that and having just the quick knowledge on hand from the repetition and studying it. So that document is what we use. And the first one that we put on there is unity. Like I said earlier, and when I read it, it wasn't in any particular order, but unity was the number one, because that's the most important one. And once you have unity, all of the other obstacles are able to be overcome. But without it, none of them are. So unity runs through each one of them. And that's the undercurrent that we need. And so when we talk about what is unity, one thing that we had to learn in our organization was that unity does not look like all 45 some odd Black people in America being on the same page. Because if we're waiting on that, man, we might mess around and see the Messiah come back to get us before that happens. You know what I mean? Because we mentioned earlier, there are so many subsets of Blackness. Just because somebody doesn't Black the way you Black, it doesn't mean that it's not right, right? Some people, I think Chanel said it, like may have more of a proper, accent, a proper dialect because you grew up in more of a suburban surrounding. You've been in academia, you've been in the professional world. Whereas my homeboy might just be on a corner his whole life. He might be hustling legit, but he's only around people who are on a blue collar level, right? And like you said, some people have different perspectives, some broad, some more narrow because of circumstance. So unity doesn't mean everyone agree and everyone get on the same page about every single thing. I do agree. I do feel that there are certain things that should be non-negotiable, and we can have a whole nother podcast, another sermon on what those things are, the Black commandments, whatever you want to call them. But unity really just means leading with love as Black people, recognizing that we have a shared heritage, we have a shared trauma, and we have shared goals, and therefore we should have a shared agenda. So there are certain things that you should always lend a certain amount of grace to your brother and sister. You should always understand that they're suffering from a lot of the same issues and a lot of the same bondages that you are mentally, physically, financially, and etc. And unity means that there should be an ongoing effort for coordination. So unity does not mean everyone agree. It means we need to be able to agree to some minimal level of coordination to get our people where we need to go. And we need to be able to look at the whole instead of just the half, i.e. yourself. So from the 50,000 foot overview, that's unity to me. And on the individual level, what does that look like? For me, I always like joke with my friends and stuff, and random Black people that I walk by, I say, hey brother, how you doing? I'll be the one that's like, hey, how you doing? When people trying to look down or look away. And then I'll joke with them. I'm like, hey man, come on, man. You Black, I'm Black. The least we can do is speak to each other. So that's how I personally start trying to do it everywhere. Plus I'm from the South. So I'm not used to people not speaking to each other. I was raised with Southern hospitality. So beyond that, there's things of, again, just having that love for people. For instance, I can never drive past a Black woman stranded on the side of the street. Like my conscience would never forgive me. I've been late to work, late to meetings so many times because I've seen Black women on the side of the road. Not that I want to help any and everybody else, but there's a special place in my heart for Black people, especially Black women, because we know that, what Malcolm said, y'all the most unprotected, class of people in this country. And so again, it's understanding that gets at what unity is, understanding there's a special need. And so you put that extra bit of effort, that extra bit of love, the extra bit of concern, you extend that towards your fellow man and woman. And then once you start with that, that's the foundation that everything else builds up on top of that. But you can't skip the basics first.
Okay.
The other part, if I can, of that question I asked for the unity, Nick, can you, from your perspective, if you can, nail it down to what that looks like and what that means from an entrepreneur perspective, because that's what we talk about all the time, how we as entrepreneurs can come together, or how should we come together in unity to grow our brands, to grow our businesses, because I think I heard you say on the interview, you said you had with Jeff that you get 300 likes when somebody say they have a new job, but maybe 4 likes when somebody's starting a business.
Absolutely.
Why is that? You know, why is that? So can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. The first thing, I'm a kind of veer, and then I'm a veer back, but I'm still kind of on track. I'm just crazy at the wheel, so bear with me. So when you say that, the next thing that comes to mind is another post I've seen float around over the years is that, hey, we need to have a paradigm shift. You know, when people start businesses, we need to throw business showers like we do baby showers. You know, everybody come together with resources for the business, startup money, seed money, contributions. Everybody just have a buying party, you know, and just show up when Black people start a business. What if we showed up like that for each other? That would be beyond powerful, man. If that was the cultural like model, if that was the mandate, everybody just did that the same way we go show up for baby showers and bridal showers and stuff. So part of it is a culture shift that needs to occur. And the other part is that a lot of stuff goes back to the identity, Julie. And again, a lot of these, there's a couple of themes within these Black obstacles of Black progress that you will see that are persistent throughout every other. So on an entrepreneur to entrepreneur level, we got to realize one thing too. It goes back to this unity piece. We're all suffering from the same struggles. So I didn't mention this, but I have a for-profit. It's called 3BC, and it's an online directory and mobile app for Black businesses globally, and also an e-commerce marketplace. And the goal is to get Black business owners found and get them paid, and to help consumers of all walks of life spend with purpose, with intentionality to uplift communities that they care about. So with within 3BC and CBP, Center for Black Progress, we have a joint initiative called the MARK Initiative, M-A-R-K. It stands for Marketing, Access to Capital, Resources, and Knowledge. These are the 4 areas that almost every single Black-owned business has struggled with, either one or all of them. And I see some people nodding their head. So, and we're all Black business owners here, so we all have these same struggles. So again, when you talk about identity, you talk about unity, recognizing your commonalities, your common struggles, and that is a mandate to come together, to cooperate, because that's what every other community does. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this show, there's certain triggers, cultural triggers, that don't really happen in the minds of Black people as they should because of our traumatic past. So whereas I hear a lot of people talking about, well, why can immigrants come over to this country and they can outpace Black people within a couple of years? And they can. For one, they come here by choice. Let's not forget that, right? They come here with a shared culture, a shared heritage. And again, they haven't had a whole system, a whole worldwide system devised to ensure their disunity, to ensure their downfall, to build civilizations off their very back. So they can come over and get relatively easy access to capital, to get property, to get these assets, and then they build a floor for other people to come and stack on top of it. So Black people, we can't have that. A lot of times when we talk about 2 entrepreneurs, it's hard for us to not always see ourselves as competition with each other. We see it as a zero-sum game. So again, there's a lot of triggers, man. There's a lot of mental like baggage that we have to like unburden ourselves with, to understand that we're in the same fight. When you win, all of y'all, everybody on this call is in a different industry than me. Even if we're all in the same industry, if you win, I win. Without that mentality, we're never going to have the unity that we need to make it individually or as a group. It's just what it is.
Yeah, I agree. Julie, do you have another part to your question?
I think the other part of the 2 that I had was unity and media, but you don't even have to dive into media. You know, that unity was number 1 for me, because it seemed to be the biggest obstacle, struggle.
But I mean, let me touch on media briefly, because man, again, I'm one of the co-founders of our organization. I still can't rank the obstacles from most important to the least. Like, it's always shifting, and it's media, for instance, that is 100%. And another side thing about me, I have military experience as a psychological operations specialist, right? So our job is literally to wage campaigns to affect the hearts and minds and to influence foreign populations so that they're in line with US objectives without ever firing a shot, right? So for those of y'all that don't know, Operation Desert Storm back in the early 90s, late 80s, that whole operation was put off because of PSYOP. That's what they call it, psychological operations.
Hold on, back up. Can you say that one more time?
Mine is blown.
What you just said was a whole show by itself and it's huge. And you just said it so quick, but people you need to say that one more time, say it slower, so people can understand how we are a victim of that right now and don't even realize it. So just rewind the tape and slow it down to rewind the tape on a half speed and talk about that psychological warfare so people can understand that, wait a minute, they're doing that to us right now as we speak. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So let me take that back and let me slow down because I get passionate. So thank you. Y'all got to tell me to pump the brakes. If I'm just ribbit, I got to let me know. So
it sounds like a part 2 show to me. I'm just saying, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I joined the military with the express purpose of getting insight into this discipline, because the same reaction that Jeff just had was my whole mentality and my perspective of it from the outside in, especially once I learned. So I'm almost quoting verbatim what they say PSYOP is in the US Army. You wage campaigns, design programs and initiatives to influence foreign populations to take actions that are in line with US objectives. And one of the ironclad rules of PSYOP is supposed to be that we can never practice PSYOP on US citizens, right? Look at Jeff. Now, the PSYOP people in the military, we can't. And to their credit, and I'm just a low guy, right? I'm nobody big within it. So nothing that I've done has been talking about the US citizens, of course, but the more I've learned, and I'm just like, this is exactly what y'all are doing to us. And it's just funny because no one says it, but it's so clear, even to people that aren't Black. Other people, the military is a very diverse place. So everybody that you talk to can recognize, like, yeah, this is some of the stuff that they do to us too. But that's the greatest way you win a war is when, again, you don't even have to fire a shot. When you get the people who you're keeping in captivity to keep themselves there and to enslave other people, who are trying to be free, who are not trying to get with the program. So that's mastery. And one thing I always say, and I get in trouble with some of my peers, white supremacy is elegant. It is it is maybe arguably one of the most sophisticated and effective systems of control humanity has ever devised. So as much as I fight against it, and I got 2 organizations that are dedicated to it, I will never not respect white supremacy for the worthwhile adversary that it is, because it's just too effective, man.
And it is true. They said the best way to tear us apart is to have us fight against each other.
Absolutely.
And distracted. Don't forget about keeping us distracted.
Yeah.
Because we wage a war. I'm sorry, this is so far off topic. I'm sorry, but that struck a nerve because that is part of the problem and why we are the way we are, because of those mind games and masturbation in the media, and it bombards us and it prevents us from working together. We're supposed to be fighting against each other up here on this panel as men and women. We're supposed to be against each other. Me and you, my brother, we're supposed to be fighting each other based on what we see in the media, because that's all you see. And so you almost grow up thinking that's normal, but it's not. But it's master manipulation. And like you say, that white supremacy, it runs so deep and so subliminal that it just gets ingrained and you don't even realize it. But, a lot of us are aware, but the problem is just how do you get people to see it? And a lot of times they don't even want to see it, or they simply don't even know it exists, but it's there. It's like oxygen. You can't see it, but it's there. Wi-Fi is there. You can't see it, but it's there, wireless, but you don't see it. So it's not so blatant that you don't really think about it.
And that's why it's so masterful.
Yeah, I mean, that's the topic, Jeff. It's like Black Progress. How far have we come? How much further do we have to go? You know, it's there. And the best way to, tear us apart is have us at each other. And sadly, in a lot of communities, that's the case. One thing we can definitely say about this panel is we bring those conversations out. Julie, I told them and was talking to him when Jeff came in, it's like, what can a brother do for me? We definitely need to do another one of those and bring him on, because like that conversation, we had to make that a part 2. It was part 1 and 2 because we was out there for a while. But yeah, this is how we try to impact the communities with change, idealism, thought process. Can you see, think something differently? We are better and stronger than we know we are if we have the right voices showing us how to go, is what I believe.
And I'll just because I don't know how much more time we have, but just to make sure that I at least touched on the title for today's episode. When we talk about Black progress, just expounding on what you just said, Alethea, we need to understand that white supremacy is a whole system. It is a whole mechanism. It's like a hydra. Y'all remember like Greek mythology, right? You cut off one head and 5 more grow. It is really that. So when we talk about working towards Black progress, we have to be organized. We have to be intentional. We have to put an equal and then an overabundant amount of effort into countering it. So there is no, that's part of my biggest pain points that if I can say on a day-to-day basis, is getting people who have been lulled to sleep by the American myth of, the middle class, of that everything's good. There's you wouldn't believe how many Black people just feel like there isn't that much to be fighting about. I'm making $80K a year. I drive a BMW. I have a $300,000 house. I'm good, right? But of course, there's different levels. Even LeBron James still, faces racism. He had niggers spray painted on his house a few years back, right? So there's levels to it. Different people face it on different ways, but that's when we talk about identity and unity. You have to understand that just because you may be a little bit better off, what about your brother? What about your sister? And how does them, a large portion who aren't making 80K, and let's be honest, the people who are making that are more so in a minority than the opposite. How is it affecting your whole entire outlook as a race, as a people in this country? What type of blowback can your teenage son possibly one day have, no matter that you've made 80K, no matter that you drive a BMW and he's raised in the suburbs, but he still is Black. He still is going to have a certain swag. He's still going to listen to hip hop more than likely. So what's to stop this whole system that you have, discounted because you've made it? What's to stop that same system from making your son one day be a target because of the media, right? Because of the imagery that they play out, that we're all a certain type of way, that we're slim pickings because we're not unified. We don't have a distillation of resources that prevents these communities from just, treating us like the low-hanging fruit that we are. All of those things come cyclical, and people don't see that. The short-sightedness is one of the biggest specters that we fight against, to make people understand that until we are all free, none of us are. And it's just never going to get better until we really come together in some type of meaningful way and put together a sustained effort, a sustained psychological effort, to counter everything that's been arrayed against us.
It brings so much to the fold. If you even think back to Trayvon Martin, he had a hoodie on, right? Then my daughter, she was in college. All of them walked around with their college hoodies on. So now you can have Skittles and a tea because you got a hoodie on. And the same thing is there's all these different cases that come out, even with the pandemic. Black men told not to wear a mask because when they were in the stores, like, didn't the governor say
the governor
they had to wear a mask, but now you intimidated about a Black man wearing a mask, and the CDC said we got to wear a mask. All those little different stories that come out, and we hear a little bit of here and there, and there's all the other different communities where they're just personified, and we just don't have enough communication to go around to really get a gist of what is keeping us from getting this community on board with that process. Because as you said before, there is so much fighting against. The average woman will say that lives in some type of housing or whatever. Take a Black woman who's living in the burbs, how much is she going to listen to me unless I can tell her a story that I came from where she's been. You know, and that too is a disconnect, because if I haven't been where you've been, no one's going to listen to you. That's another problem that we have, that we got to figure out, how do we cross those bridges, you know, to get them to listen to what we're trying to show, the better we can be. Because my biggest problem here is, if we were able to create a Black Wall Street 102 years ago, why are we having such a problem doing it now? You know, why?
Loaded question.
And
Very
you,
loaded.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's so much that we need to do, that we can do. We just got to figure out how to build those bridges, because there's a generation that we could very well lose, and we're losing our men at immense numbers. You know, and that's another big issue that we have to deal with too, because if we don't have you guys, how are we going to reproduce? And that's a thought process constantly. Constantly. Hey, D made it.
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother Teryl? I'm sorry I'm late. It's been a long day. Thank you so much for your patience.
And he
Absolutely.
said
We're
that
waiting on you.
right. Look, making
You
me
know,
look
you know,
all
we just been
goofy
sitting here
because he
for an
said
hour,
his name right.
Dion, right? We haven't talked. We just been, you know, stalling until you got here, man. So it's a whole hour of my time. I hope you got a plan to reimburse me for that.
now we can.
Hey, I really appreciate your social entrepreneur efforts with me. Thank you so much, sir.
Look at him. Took a quick glance. Who this dude is now? What do you do? Okay, let me spit that at him.
I know your name.
Well played, sir.
Thank you so much.
And we went into the blooper reel when Jeff came in, and Jeff's like, oh, we being recorded? Yes, all right, people already know we cut up on this show, so they done got kind of used to it.
And with that said, you know I gotta come up with something.
Uh-oh.
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 So when you said, Teryl, when you I'm the one that always makes us laugh. So when you said the acronym for what the company stand for, I was like, ooh, you better be careful not to say that too fast, because it could stand for, you could say the other letter instead. You get me? CBD. You said CBP. CBD, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going back on mute.
Oh Lord.
He said real quick, oh, yo, bro, you got that? Yo, 510, what you got? What you got? It's like, oh no, he's gonna get up, he's gonna say, I don't know why I went on this show with him. They cut up on this show over here.
It's all love.
No, we try to keep it real on the show. People want to see, right? We can be serious for the moment, but then this is who we are.
We're sprinkling in.
Mhm. But we'll be fine by the time we press stop. Everybody's fine when they come to the show. So Dion, if you just get here, you got any questions?
I would really like to know what this acronym Julie was talking of. I won't hold us up any longer, and I'm going to stop right there. I may have a little bit, but that'll be all for me, Brother Teryl and Sister Chanel, and Sister Julie, and Lee.
No doubt. It's just the abbreviation for our organization, CBP. CBP. Let me sound it out for Julie. And that's the Center for Black Progress. That's all it is.
Put that in your notes, Julie. Don't mess that up.
I actually did. I wrote it out. I said, they get on me, Teryl, because I'm the organized one.
Yeah.
Okay.
They get on me because I'm always writing things down, and so I pay attention. So anyway, go ahead, Dion.
So just hearing it, it sounds kind of like a community resource center for the progressive things happening with Black people, even touch base, link up, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's the vision is for it to be the headquarters for all things Black culture, all things Black progression. That's the overall vision. So, you know, if only we can start off at the point, the top of our vision, but you know, we started off with a lot more of the grassroots thing as we work on building resources and capacities. But you touched on it, man. I mean, the goal is to, you missed a lot of what we're talking about. The document that we use to kind of guide our development and our programming is called the Blueprint for Black Progress. And it essentially lays out 12 key obstacles that Black people face all over the world, the causes behind them, the sources of them, and potential solutions. And then we also even identify existing efforts, because identifying other people who are running in the same race, going in the same speed and the same direction as you is just as important as you coming up with the next big thing. You need to learn how to lock arms with people who are in the same fight. So again, we try to practice what we preach. That is just, unifying and synergizing to achieve the scale that we need, because one of the biggest things that sparked the genesis of our organization is looking at, and this is no disrespect to any existing organization, I ain't gonna call no names, but there's a lot of so-called Black led and Black beneficial organizations that have existed for decades and decades. And you look at the amount of money they're able to raise, the amount of notoriety they've achieved, and then you just look at what is the tangible benefit that you've provided to the people. How uplifted are we as a result of your existence and your efforts? And a lot of them are unfortunately found to be wanting. So our goal is to be an organization of efficacy, to actually provide tangible benefits on as wide a scale as possible. So, we have humble beginnings just like so many, but our goal is nothing less than, results for Black people that they can hang their hat on.
Thank you so much, brother. That's awesome. The idea of it is so awesome. I really liked your words, synergize. Yes, we have some scattered things, and some of them feel really bought and paid for already. From I don't want to use this term grandfathered in, yeah. But I think it's applicable. They have that bought and paid for feel, and they're very corporate, and they're very it's kind of cookie cutter. I don't want to discount it, but thank you so much for the progression. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to add, just that, I think it's important that we all get on the same page, like you were saying. And unfortunately, we have to remember there's no black and white. It's not an either or thing, because we don't all agree on the same thing. So just because you feel one way doesn't mean we can't work together. And unfortunately, exactly. That's what we see a lot of. That, just because we have a difference of opinion on some things, then you say, oh, I can't work with that person because they like such and such, or they don't agree with this. We don't all agree with everything. I didn't agree with my mother on everything, so I guess I should have just my mother. No, that's just part of life. You have to learn to accept people's opinions and beliefs and our differences, because we all have different life experiences and backgrounds. So if we can get past that, then we can overcome anything.
I agree.
I got a quick question. Since you just said that, it's only 6 of us on this call. What is the one thing, when we talk about the idea of Black progression, when we talk about just uplifting each other and everything, what is the one thing you think we all could agree on or should be able to agree on?
That Julie is silly. We can all agree on that. That's a definite.
That Julie is what?
Wonderful.
Okay.
I'm new here.
Right. Welcome to the show, Teryl.
Hey, brother Teryl, I think we had a podcast, me and brother Jeff, and Alethea put it together for us as always. Julie was there. Chanel wasn't able to be there, but her husband was there. We had a podcast, What Can a Brother Do for Me? One of the things that I talked about, it was esteem. I don't know. I know there are different ways and methods to infuse uplifting people's esteem. And all right, brother. But we have more than, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm still at work. We have more than enough people that sometimes they don't respond to what's up, King, versus what's up, the other negative things we say, I think I would like to offer, if we could agree on that, we really need an infusion where our esteem, where we think of ourselves a certain way. Books and methods and measures, there are plenty of resources. How do we, I guess what I'm saying is, how do we get that into, versus just available. Because if I could refer to even some of these cookie cutter organizations that we kind of refer to, there is a great number that they just don't respond with a care for themselves, which makes them not care about us. And I don't know how that all came together, but I hope you can make some sense of that.
Be thinking about it.
Well, Deon, I'm going to chime in on that, Teryl, while you're thinking about it. But Deon,
Thanks.
one of the 12, can I call them obstacles?
That's what they are. Yeah, you got it.
Obstacles that Teryl focuses on, one is identity. And that was one that came to mind that I talked about or had a question about early on is, how do we identify? I've been Black a long time. I'm going to be Black for a few more years, right? It is what it is. Just a few more years. It is what it is, but in being authentic. I mean, my hair, these curls are popping and they're going to stay popping, and I'm not straightening them to make anybody else feel comfortable about who I am. So I think being comfortable with who we are, and like you said, I think you mentioned earlier about being unapologetically Black. Just that identity piece, I think is something that sticks with me, and that it's okay. I don't have to walk around or want to look like somebody that I'm not, or want to act or speak or portray to be somebody that I am not. I think that to me is one of the steps. I know we haven't identified what comes first, what comes last, but that to me is in the process of all of this, and being okay with this is who I am, and I'm okay with that. But then also being open to areas of improvement. We all can improve. We all have improved over the last year or last 10 years. We've all been embedded in each other's lives along the way, and we've been open to growth and improvement. But it all starts with identity, identifying who we are and accepting who we are, and starting from there with that foundation. I just wanted to plug that in because I think
that goes right with
a little
you
bit.
said that better than I could. Absolutely.
But here's what I think too, Chanel. I wanted to add on to that. I think during COVID, it has allowed us and caused some of us to operate a little bit more in our authentic selves, right? You're seeing more and more women with the authentic hair, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are beginning and have been embracing who we are. It's just the other side has not embraced, or you have to have this certain standard, at least it used to be. I think in corporate America, your hair had to be a certain way. You dare not go to an interview with your hair being curly or authentic or anything like that. You had to go get an accessory, if you will, or make it straight. So I think we identify with who we are. Is just then how do we educate the other side and the other opportunities to embrace who we are? That makes sense.
So how do we make them embrace us? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Good luck with that.
I'm torn. I can't be in control of that. I can't be in control of how you receive my authenticity. You know what I mean? All I can do is show up how I'm supposed to show up. It's up to you to embrace that or accept that. Well, that's what one of my questions was, Teryl, is do you educate not just us, because I feel like we have a lot of learning and education and embracing to do. I heard a thunder. Oh my God.
And it's rolling over here.
Oh, but also other demographics. Do you, as your organization works to educate, other entities on how to, diversity and inclusion is a key word right now. I mean, we're seeing it and hearing it everywhere. Is that something that you've stepped into to educate others on how to, embrace and welcome?
To be honest, absolutely not, because our organization has been internally focused, internally as far as the family, the community, the culture, the race. There's a lot of educating that the others, our pale brothers and sisters, need, right? We can all attest to that, but we are huge advocates of expending neither the time nor the energy nor the resources to overly make that our ministry. There's time and place for it, because again, we recognize that this task before us is monumental. We cannot accomplish it alone. And that's something else that's controversial that I believe, and some of my other colleagues believe, that no, Black people alone, given everything that's arrayed against us, given all of our handicaps because of what we've experienced, we are not equipped internally, mentally, socially, to overcome white supremacy by ourselves. And then on top of that, all of the other head starts, all of the keys that they're holding to the doors, they have too many gatekeepers that we would need to bypass, to say that we don't need white people, we don't need Hispanic, we don't need Asian. We are going to have to figure out when and where to play the cross coalition game. But what we do here is primarily focused on internal, us taking care of our own house first. There's always some incidental, like if you follow any of our social media channels, there's a lot of engagement that we do around the idea of diversity and inclusion, because like you said, that intersects so nicely with identity and opportunity and access to resources. So a lot of that does interplay, but we spend the majority of our time trying to rally Black folk to rise to the occasion, to identify and recognize, hey, here's the game that's being played, here's the needs, what you gonna do?
Thank you so much, Janelle.
That is so articulate, brother.
Appreciate it.
Alethea, I don't know how we are on time, but I had two more things I wanted to get out real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay. One of them was it starts with us. I think, like you mentioned, if you see somebody on the street, you're like, hey, hey, my brother, what's up? I think that there's small baby steps that we can take each and every day, but it's about being intentional. I think that's critical for all of us. We all play a part in this. But it starts with us. It starts with us making those small changes and being intentional in our own circles and areas and communities for us to reach and grow in a broader perspective. Once again, in my opinion. The other thing that I absolutely loved was business showers. I think we talked about on the show a couple episodes ago about supporting each other. I have friends that I literally just was scrolling through Facebook and saw that a good friend of mine had just booked a trip somewhere. And I'm like, now girl,
Oh, don't they just get you? Ooh. Man.
But what I've learned though, I'm not for everybody, and I'm okay with that. But there are different ways that you support. Maybe you can't afford my services, and that's okay. But you can like our business, you can share our business, you can refer our business.
Free stuff.
I am completely okay with that. But I think that having those conversations, being able to say, girl, I support you. What can I do to help you? Maybe I can't afford your services. However, but I'm going to tell my friends and family about it. I'm going to like and share your post on Facebook, or I'm going to subscribe to your email, whatever. Like, there are ways that we can intentionally support each other as Black business owners. So I think that's critical as well. I love what is it called? Black shower? Business showers.
Yeah.
Business showers.
I love that too. I love that.
Mine is blown.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. Dion, he was saying, we have baby showers when we're celebrating somebody's having a baby. When your, friends or family open businesses as Black business owners, or any business owner, whatever, we could play it however we want to play it, but supporting them. Why not come together and say, here goes, I don't know, $200, $300, $500, whatever you need to start and grow your business. Because like you mentioned, access to capital is a critical piece that we are missing for Black and brown businesses each and every day. Black women, I think we recently just talked about this, Alethea and Julie. Black women, we are starting businesses more than anybody else.
Every other demographic.
We are the least funded when it comes to capital. Yeah. There's a huge gap. That's a missing piece of the puzzle right there. And friends and family, unlike other ethnicities, we don't have that. I'm not gonna say we don't have that support, but it's not as prevalent as some others. So we need those resources, especially to start and grow businesses. So
I want to say something on that. That's a really good point, because I think part of the problem is we just don't understand how business works. And I have a major problem with our politicians and politics. I'm not a Democrat or Republican, I'm independent. And the reason I say that, it's important I bring that up, is because there are some political parties who will say, well, we're going to help you. We're going to do this for you. We're going to give you these grants and make these laws and do this funding. When they do things like that, it's almost like a subliminal way of control, and we're relying on them to help us. And that's just how I see it. And I think that's a problem. So a lot of us are sitting back and waiting on someone else to do it. Another example I can give you is like HBCUs compared to Ivy League institutions or predominantly white institutions. They get money from alumni. Those rich alumni, they give back as donors. When you see all these athletes at these colleges and they get these, little perks and benefits, a lot of times it's coming from boosters who were alumni. We don't do that with like our HBCUs, our students there. We don't give back as much as they do. So it's a whole mindset where they help each other in many ways that we don't even think about. I mean, we can look at all the different huge nonprofits out there and businesses that give back to their communities when we don't do it on not even on a fraction of what they do. So I think it all comes back down to just mindset, mentality, and just helping each other. We don't do that enough because maybe we don't see the benefit or we just don't understand the importance of it. And we got to stop waiting on someone else to help, or we got to stop waiting on, our neighbor to do something. You got to get up and do something. Every person has to do their part, but I don't think we're there yet. And sometimes I get frustrated just when I look around and see how people are just so lackadaisical and they complain, but they don't have any solutions. But we have the solutions. People just don't want to do it. And I think that's a huge problem too.
I agree. There's the disconnect. I think as you go through different areas around town, one of the things that I have noticed and myself is kind of like there's places I've been, so yeah, you see where I'm at now, but you don't know the struggle I went through to get where I am now. And then if I go back to where I fell to and try to talk to the women there and they see me, they see this middle class woman, they don't see the woman that could have been homeless and staying in that same shelter that they're staying in. And so you got to meet people where they're at. No, I didn't spend years there, but you spend a week in there is life-changing for me. So I want to go back and I want to go back and I want to talk to you and I want to tell you. And it's not until I tell them that I have sat in the same seats that they're in, that then they'll perk up and they want to listen to me. And sometimes you just got to find that point where you can meet someone where they feel you understand what they're dealing with. And then that is the disconnect that we have a lot of people, we have to figure out how to meet them where they're at. And that's the biggest disconnect that I see for a lot of different barriers, especially for women. There are a lot of women, single mothers and, sitting in homeless shelters now. And, it's a constant cycle for them. It's a constant cycle for their kids. How do we reach them that we can make a difference to them? Because they have the ideas of things that they can do differently, but how do we get communication to them? Where do we draw the line as to how we get to communicate with all the different people that can make a difference? Because if we can show that one person in that community can do something different, then perhaps you'll be more willing to listen to us as we go forward.
Empathy is everything. It's one of the greatest deficiency in society as a whole right now. Every community, every culture. So 100% agree with that.
I wanted to chime in on something Jeff said that I thought about, talking about, I just think about Black businesses and supporting Black businesses. And we've talked about this before, but just showing up we've talked about customer service. We've talked about several different things when, we're trying to be intentional about supporting Black businesses. But sometimes we hear the stigma of, everyone wants a discount. or the customer service isn't as great, or, they're trying to nickel and dime us, or they're charging, extra insane prices for, their services or products. But I think that's critical as well. We deserve the same contracts as some of these high price, or not even high price, but expensive luxury brands, but we have to deliver. I think, that the service across the board is expected. So as Black business owners and businesses, I think we definitely need to stick to that as well. Deliver the product and services. I don't mind paying if I'm going to get what I'm, coming after or paying for, but delivery is the key as well. So I think you made a good point on that, Jeff.
Everyone, real quick, just look at the chat. I just uploaded a graphic that our company created, our for-profit 3BC. And we have a social media campaign called Black Bylaws. So like bylaws for organization, but it's BUY. So literally we just go through, we have a team that's just coming up with these laws for people that want to buy Black, how to make it a lifestyle, how to make it something that doesn't just, serve as a trend that comes and goes. And one of those things is if Black businesses drop the ball, give them the same level of grace that you would give non-Black ones. Keep that same energy, fam. And we will go into Walmart, which has atrocious customer service. Don't even go there for customer service. Please don't. We will go into Asian restaurants, another place that is, notorious for the worst customer service. We will go into, East Indian owned establishments and get followed around the stores. I'm just telling you, this is just my personal experience. And I'm sure somebody on this call has shared it. There's a lot of things that are just shared across the Black experience. We all have those experiences, but we still go to these establishments. But again, when I talked about from our Center for Black Progress, those obstacles, there's so many things that run through the current of why when we go to a Black owned business, we have certain expectations that are unfair and unreasonable, way up there, right? And also on the other side, the Black business owner, there's so many reasons why they may be dropping the ball, because we talked about that mark, right? Marketing, access to capital, resources, and knowledge. So there's so many things, and none of that excuses poor performance, bad customer service. None of that excuses rude customer patronage. But it's like you always have to toe the line of trying to understand and be empathetic, to Alethea's point, empathetic of where Black people as a whole are in this journey towards Black progress, where we are in our knowledge, our wokeness, right? And our awareness of self, knowledge of self. So there's so many different things. And with the Black bylaws, just to plug that a little bit, our goal is just to say like, hey, we know it ain't always perfect. We know that you're not going to always find the products that you're looking for, but don't stop looking. Don't stop giving them a chance. Don't paint with a broad brush every Black owned business out there because of even 5 bad experiences you've had. There's so many other businesses that we go to and we get subpar service. People are still banking with Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo paid out millions and millions for scamming Black people particularly. But we don't even identify yourself. If one of y'all got Wells Fargo on this call, don't even tell me, because I will leave the meeting right now. So there are people that are still banking Wells Fargo, but they literally have targeted and scammed you. There are people still have mortgages with companies who caused the subprime lending crisis because they targeted Black people with high incomes that should have gotten A1 mortgage loans. There's so many things that we put up with from all these other businesses, and we don't even bat an eyelash. We buy from Home Depot, who donates to Trump. Not that, politics is everything, but like we give our money to all these organizations and don't even question where it's going, how they feel. There are people with NRA memberships. I can go on and on and on. 3BC, we have a whole database of people on our do not buy list of organizations that have taken actions that are in stark contrast and opposition to everything Black people are trying to accomplish. So it's, yes, we want to buy Black, but we also need to know where to take our dollars away from. And again, just keep the perspective that it's okay if the Black business ain't perfect. They ain't gonna be, but we're not going to get any type of economic liberation without them and without supporting each other. So we just got to keep pushing through.
Hey man, I gotta jump in on this.
Whoa.
It
I know
all
you do.
comes, we all do. We all do. But see, everything you just said, it comes back to that psychological warfare. It
It's
all
all related.
right
It's a
there.
spider web.
And to see the way I'm getting mad just thinking about it because it's all psychological. We got that mindset that our businesses are subpar, or we don't know what we're doing, or we don't give good service, or they're better because they're not melanated, or don't have as much melanin. That's a mind thing. That's a psychological thing. And to be honest with you, we need a show just on the mind games and identify the different ways that they mess with us psychologically, so we can say, oh, that's something we need to watch for, because that's how they manipulate us into thinking that we can't do this, or we can't do that, or our business is subpar, or this is why or this is something that they do to make us fight each other. We need to recognize the signs and the symptoms, and we can see it on social media. We can see it in the news. The news is bombarded with that stuff, and it's ridiculous. I saw, I know we got to go soon, but real quick, they compared Meghan Markle, how they treated her in the press, to Fergie. I think that's her name, the other Duchess or whatever it was. They had the exact same things going on, and they had a side-by-side comparison of the commentary, how they dragged Meghan Markle for holding her baby bump, but then the other lady, princess, she held hers. It was like a loving type of thing. It's so subliminal how they portray us and do us that we just accept it. But we need to learn how to identify the things that they do to us, so we can know that we can't take that no more. And like you say with the banks, personally, I'm trying to decentralize myself.
Okay.
Where I remove myself from certain things in society, and I'll just leave it at that. But if you get in that web, it's going to be very hard to get out, and people need to start thinking about that and understanding and identifying the ways that they mess with us mentally. Because we don't even know. That's the thing that frustrates me. I can see it clear as day because I study this stuff, but I see people fall into the same trap every single time, and they fighting over stuff that they are doing on us on purpose to trip us up. And people don't see it, and it drives me crazy.
Now, I wasn't going to say this till Jeff said what he said. So now I'm going to go put this out here.
Uh-oh.
We look around for all the different things that we focus on, what we want to do. President Obama is a prime example, as no matter how high you go, we'll still find a way to try to tear you down.
That brown suit he had on was atrocious.
Yes.
And then Michelle Obama
Maybe had a tan suit. Man, I say nothing about his tan suit.
What's wrong with you?
You know?
Sleeves out like that, like some hussy.
And his wife, the way they spoke about,
that's what they did. That's what they did.
The way they spoke about his wife.
Right.
All those different things, like, yeah, he may be good, but we're going to show you that even if you make it to this seat, we still going to treat you like this. The newspapers had pictures of him looking like some type of monkey or something like that. So it's like that mindset, that mind game is like, oh, they're disrespecting him, and he ain't as big and proud and really helping us get anywhere, or letting people see us differently because of what he accomplished. You know, so that's that mindset. And I won't go and say anything, but Jeff brought it up, and so that's why
I want to jump in, especially on the mindset and the mental stuff, because we're just fighting through so many layers, you know. And then we have that other part is cognitive dissonance. We know it doesn't work. we put hope in it, prayer, energy, effort, time, and there are some things. W.E.B. Du Bois says there is a system not designed for you can never, ever work for you. We know some of it doesn't work. And then the lack of whatever we have accessible or resourceful, it has that way of bringing you back in. I heard Brother Teryl said, toe in the line. If we got to be doubly, and Chanel, and even what we were saying about our service to each other and the Black bylaws, Brother Teryl is talking about, toe in the line. We have to work doubly hard, doubly, 2 times when it comes to even servicing our own certain ways. We got to make sure we're not criminal intended. We got to make sure we're not so aloof, that we're not conscious and awake. And I heard you say knowledge of self. And we got to make sure, like Jeff said, while we're definitely acknowledging, and Brother Teryl said, acknowledging who, what, where, when, we can't fight the truth. You can't fight what we know does not work. And bringing all of that in at the same time, I absolutely, y'all know this is my stuff with the mind stuff. I absolutely agree. Everything has a mental process initially. It emanates from the mind. That's where the ideas and the thoughts and everything come. What a great.
So I want to jump into, oh my God.
We're gonna just be jumping in all the night, huh? We just
Double
jumping.
Double Dutch. Double Dutch.
Jeff, like, yeah, put me in, coach.
Yeah, I'm like, honestly, I know Julie want to say, I'm gonna say this real quick. Sometimes we get on these tangents and all of us are so smart and intelligent that we got these points, man. And someone says something, is like sparks something, because all of us have we some smart people, man. Seriously, I'm not even playing. And we say something and it sparks something that just gets you thinking. So that's sometimes we go over, but you know, this what you said was just powerful, man. You just sparked a whole nother topic. I'm sorry, Julie. Go ahead, Julie.
And I'm sorry too, Julie.
I forgot what I was gonna say, Jim. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, we talked about the mindset, and we talked about, you know, the other side and how they're, you know, how they are changing our mindset and making us think how we think about each other. But within our own community, and I just recently had this happen to me, that someone of the same community came into my establishment to support the business. But because they were supporting the business, felt like they were entitled to know some deeper information about my business, such as, can you make a whole lot of money doing this? And how much do you make? Really? I don't know you like that for you to answer that type of question. So it was almost like they were sitting, waiting on their product and just rattling off of these questions and expecting me to answer them. And that infuriated me, because it's like, I appreciate your support, but not at the risk of, you know, this type of information that you want me to share with you. So if you're going to support Black businesses, support it from your heart, from your mind. It doesn't matter the back end stuff, you know, because there could be some struggles. There could not be some struggles. What does it matter? We're trying to all get there. So I just wanted to chime in with that, because that was just, he has his hand.
I'll put my hand up, because this is my whole jam, and I'm gonna forgive y'all because y'all want to focus only on the nonprofit. You can ask Jeff how big 3BC also is. And again, our two organizations are made. That's why the little graphic that's behind me is them two together, because they fit. But Black business is like my Black people, Black business, because economics is one of the biggest things. So I just want to hone in and I want to give you some deep slices of what you just said, Julie. Here's the mindset of a lot of Black consumers, right? And keep in mind the obstacles that we talked about: identity, unity, economics, media, all of these warring forces that are playing a number and doing just chaos on the Black psyche and Black self-esteem and Black group esteem, right? So there's so many Black consumers that they see the importance of buying Black. They see the importance of trying to support each other. I'm gonna make 2 points here. This is the first point. They see the importance, but they're also fighting against that externally imposed and internally reinforced Black inferiority. So they're fighting against that. They're thinking the white man's ice is colder. I know that, but man, the Black man over here got ice too. I gotta go. I'm at least try. Okay. And it's like, you know, these are probably the same people that have had one bad experience with Black people, and they gotta talk about it on social media. They gotta raise a big stink. They gotta leave a Google review, right? Never did that for any other negative experience or any other business. And so they finally walk themselves into your establishment, and lo and behold, you actually have a quality product or quality service. And so then they're relieved, right? And so like, oh, sigh of relief. but then they feel that they deserve a certain type of reward or pat on the back because they overcame all of the challenges. Well, everybody knows Black businesses aren't as good. We know the customer service ain't as good. So now that I did overcome all of these obstacles to get here and support you, I think you should tell me whatever I want to know. I think you should give me a discount. I came to support you. I ain't have to do that. We all know you're inferior. So you need, the least you can do is reward me by taking something up. You know what I'm saying? So it's very deep down toxic, man. Like it's very problematic, the stuff that we got to overcome. Right. And then I lost my train of thought for the second one. I'm just gonna leave it with that one because I had another one, another insight from that, but because I study this stuff, right? We do like endless research on this stuff. And so that's what you're experiencing. So you got to keep that in mind. I'm not saying to just tell people your info, but just understand that that's the deepness. And I probably still got more levels I could have went down, but we already, so many minutes past the time. But like, this is the type of stuff we're battling against, and it is not for the faint of heart.
I got to say something real quick, y'all. And I want people to just think about this. We have created so many different things as a people, and they have been copied by other people. Everything, I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but you know, I don't care, I'm self-employed. Everything we do, here they come. Everything we do, here they come. They copy our style, they steal our business ideas. They get in hairstyles that Julie has and Chanel has worn. And
anatomy
on the slide, they criticize it. They criticize it first, then when you ain't looking, they copy it. They do that. But then we turn around and try to do what they do. So what's really going on here? Why are we trying to be like people who deep down are trying to be like us? That's all I'm gonna say.
There's a book called Black People Invented Everything, The Deep History of Ingenious Creativity. Look that up.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of that Black history. We pulled a lot of that out. We featured all Black entrepreneurs during that because there's a lot that we don't know. And when we do know, we need to share. Dion, I know you need to leave. We usually do last words because Dion needs to jump. I'm going ahead and let him give some last words.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being patient. Brother Teryl, you're true to our title. You're very social with your expression of patience with me tonight. I'm the last on, first to leave, and we talking about Black. Good Lord have mercy. Anyway, so this is such a stimulating conversation. I'm going to go back and review the beginning and what I did miss. But we so appreciate the direct on the front line that you are doing and the very careful and thoughtful consideration that you're doing it with. To not, it's we're not anti nothing. We're pro Black. That's it. That's what we are. You know, and like Jeff White says all the time, at the end of the day, we need to get the green, and we work with and work to see people do as good as they can, but we always want us and ours to do extremely well and not at the expense of others, not to put anything through the things that we've been through, but to be very direct and be confrontational so we can move the needle literally forward. We can progress with it. Thank you so much, brother. I have already been very, very energized by this conversation.
Yes, sir. My pleasure, man. You just gave that back to me, man. This is why we do it. This is why we had these conversations. Do something with it now. Don't just be energized and go to sleep. You better do something different.
You told that to the wrong person. Dion is out there. You don't even know. Chanel, I'll let you go.
Oh boy, wow. I guess the term of the night is energized. I would just say just charged up. Like this was really fruitful for me. I really came into it not expecting this charge that you all have delivered for me as a Black business owner, as a Black woman, as a Black person, period. So thank you for that, for everybody, especially for Teryl. it's been awesome. Thank you. I'm speechless, and that's rare, but thank you.
Julie?
Yes, thank you, Teryl, for your knowledge and the pieces of information that you shared. I look forward to part two. I think there's more that we can talk about. But if I had to leave the audience with the last words, I found this quote, and the author is unknown, and it says, "If you do not go after what you want, you'll never have it. If you don't ask, the answer will always be no. If you do not step forward, you will always be in the same place."
Oh, I like that one, Julie. It's going in the book. Jeff?
Yeah, that's a great quote. Terrell, you didn't disappoint me. I told you guys he was good. But
It's
yeah,
all for you, big
I
homie.
want to thank you for coming on the show. You have a lot of knowledge. I just want to see you be extremely successful, just like I want to see everybody else. We all got to work together, and we can do it. Like I say, we just get on the same page, and there's nothing we can't do, because we can be unstoppable if we put our minds to it. But unfortunately, they know that. And so they keep us divided. But thanks to people like you in this show, thanks to Alethea and Chanel and Julie and Dion, all of us working together, there's nothing we can't do. And the fact that we're on this show together, as we all get along like we do, and the positivity and the knowledge, and then we can laugh and joke, that's a bond that can't be broken, no matter how people try. So it's very important that people see us in this light. And like I say, thanks to you, bringing the knowledge, bringing the heat, bringing different perspective that got everybody fired up. Yeah, there's nothing we can't accomplish if we put our minds to it.
Thanks, Jeff.
He's also a North Carolina Central alumni.
Hey, Eagle Fried.
That's what's
All
up.
that out there to wrap that up.
Teryl, last word.
Oh man. Black love is revolutionary, platonic, romantic, every way it is. Everything starts and ends with Black love, self-love, group love, lead with love, man. And it's everything else just falls after that. It's always the simplest things that are the key to the seemingly most complex problems, like literally. But love is simple. It's simple, but it ain't easy, right? But what I want to see from anyone that's listening to this, when it's finally released, and to everybody that was on this call, and Dion, when you go back and listen to this, let's get in the habit. If you're already there, great, let's continue. But let's get in the habit of being not just hearers of the word, but doers of the word, right? Don't let me get my Southern Baptist roots to be showing on here, but that's straight out of the Bible. But we need to be active participants in our own liberation. There's so much knowledge. There's so many resources out here. I haven't said anything that's new. Maybe I've said it in a different way, but we've all probably heard some machination of what's been discussed here tonight. But like we talked about, these stagnant organizations in the Black community that are supposed to be pillars of lifting us up, but they haven't really taken us where we need to go. No, it's not their job to do it all by themselves. But if everyone really put legs under this thing and ran with it, figured out what your lane is, and drive forward in it, lock arms with people who are doing the same, scale this thing up, be active, figure out where you fit in and go. That's what we need. So whatever energy I've helped to participate in recycling during this talk tonight, like don't waste that. Write something down in your journal tonight, figure out what you're going to do different, what more you're going to contribute, what were you lacking in before today, and like let's tighten that up. And let's make that a gradual process, because I mean, progress is a slow process, and it's all about baby steps.
Thank you, Teryl. And we're going to let that be the call of action for tonight for all of the viewers and the listeners. That's your call of action for tonight. So I thank you for what you brought to the table with us tonight. The conversation is something we definitely have to have again. And so that I don't mess up your name when you come back, from now on, the New York is going to come. I'll be, yo, T, what's up?
Oh, Lord.
Yo, T, what's
T
up?
White, that's what I go by.
So, but it was great conversation, and it was conversation that we needed. And so we also look forward to having another go at what would a brother do for me? And bring all the fellows together again and have this conversation. Because this is really what we want to succeed at doing during this podcast, is bringing that knowledge and that unity so that we all can grow as people, whatever our path chooses to be, even if it's not being entrepreneurs.
Amen.
So with that, we can all say thank you for watching, and we will see you again next week.